The land of Mu, remembering the ancient heart of the world. There is a memory older than history, carried not in books but in landscapes, oceans and forests. Along the ancient southwest coast of Australia, many people feel a quiet call, a sense that this land remembers something vast and beautiful. The whales, towering trees and red earth seem to whisper of a deeper relationship between people and the living world. This story is an invitation to remember. Whether Lemuria is history, memory or symbol, its message remains the same. A more harmonious way of living is possible when we reconnect with each other, the land beneath our feet, and the wisdom that has always lived within us. Australian magnetic red earth is calling back the children of Lemuria, calling us home. There is a memory older than language, older than any civilization we have been taught to name. It hums beneath the red soil of ancient continents, rises with the breath of the ocean, and stirs quietly in those of us who have always felt that something essential, something vast and tender, has been lost. Or perhaps not lost, perhaps only sleeping. We are living in the times when the cycle slowly begins to change. Many of us are starting to remember. And for those who find themselves drawn to this story, know that the remembering is not accidental. You are here because something called you. Gondwana, the ancient memory. Long before Western science coined the term Gondwana, the supercontinent that once united what is now Australia, India, Africa, South America, and Antarctica. The indigenous peoples of Australia already carried this knowing, not as theory, not as hypothesis, as living memory, encoded in songlines, ceremony, and story, passed with extraordinary care across tens of thousands of years. Aboriginal oral traditions speak of a time when the land looked entirely different, when coastlines stretched far beyond where the ocean now sits, when vast territories were swallowed by rising seas. Modern geology has confirmed these stories describe real events. The dramatic sea level rises at the end of the last ice age, roughly 7,000 to 12,000 years ago. The oldest accurate historical records on Earth are not written in stone or parchment. They are sung. In our Western vocabulary, we reach for another word to hold this ancient knowing. We call it Lemuria, or more intimately, Mu, the land of Mu. The belief held across many traditions and carried within many awakening souls today is that Australia, together with Hawaii, certain Polynesian islands, parts of New Zealand and reaches of Africa were once one land, one vibrant, living, breathing land, the heart of Mu. Once these lands were one. The ocean remembers what the maps have forgotten. To dismiss this as myth is to repeat the arrogance that has cost humanity so dearly. Indigenous peoples across Australia, Hawaii, parts of New Zealand and the wider Pacific have independently preserved cosmologies describing layered worlds, previous existences, and ancestors who lived in fundamentally different relationships with the earth. When so many rivers of ancient memory flow toward the same sea, perhaps it is worth drinking. Two philosophies, two worlds. To understand what is being remembered, we must first understand what was forgotten and what replaced it. Two great civilizations exist in the esoteric and spiritual traditions of humanity, not merely as historical curiosities, but as living archetypes, two fundamentally different ways of being human on this earth. Their names are Lemuria and Atlantis, and their philosophies could not be more different. The Lemurian way. Lemurian philosophy is centered on heart-centered spirituality, oneness, and living in harmony with nature. The Lemurians did not see themselves as rulers of the earth. They saw themselves as an extension of it, participants in a great living conversation between human beings, animals, plants, waters, stars, and the intelligence that moves through all things. Communication itself was different. Rather than the spoken word, Lemurian tradition describes a form of communion through feeling, image, and direct knowing, what we might today call telepathic or intuitive exchange. The heart, not the analytical mind, was the primary organ of perception. Society was non-hierarchical. Special gifts and talents were celebrated, but they did not elevate one soul above another. In our own words, Lemurian civilization was fundamentally symbiotic. How can this work for everyone? How do we co-create with Mother Nature, with the cosmos, with all that is? These were the questions that shaped the life. The Atlantean way. Atlantean philosophy moved in a very different direction. Its worldview was deeply tied to the intellectual mind, to logic, and to the mastery and control of physical forces. Where Lemuria listened, Atlantis conquered. Where Lemuria participated, Atlantis extracted. Technology and material achievement became central values. Power became hierarchical. And the great karmic lesson of Atlantis was learning the consequence of that misuse. Intellectual power wielded without wisdom. Societal dominance pursued without heart. In our own words, Atlantean civilization was fundamentally parasitic. How do we take? How do we use? How do we control? These were the questions, sometimes unspoken, but always operating, that shaped a different kind of life. For many people exploring the stories of Lemuria and Atlantis, these two civilizations represent more than lost lands. They symbolize two very different ways of relating to life. Lemuria is often associated with the heart. Its philosophy is one of feeling, intuition, and living in harmony with the natural world. Rather than seeking to dominate nature, humanity is seen as part of a living web of relationships. Society is imagined as cooperative rather than hierarchical, with an emphasis on equality, mutual support, and collective well-being. The guiding principle is symbiosis, a recognition that all life flourishes through connection, reciprocity, and co-creation. Atlantis, by contrast, is frequently portrayed as the path of the mind taken to an extreme. It values logic, analysis, and mastery over the forces of nature. Social structures become increasingly hierarchical, concentrating power in the hands of a few. Competition replaces cooperation, and extraction replaces reciprocity. The well-being of the collective gives way to the pursuit of individual achievement, control, and dominance. Whether these civilizations existed as described or whether they serve as symbolic stories, the contrast remains meaningful. The two philosophies continue to live within humanity today. One seeks relationship, participation, and balance. The other seeks control, accumulation, and power. Perhaps the question is not which civilization disappeared, but which set of values we choose to cultivate in the world we are creating now. Look around at the society we inhabit today. Its structures, its values, its relentless drive for growth, control, and consumption. My belief, and perhaps yours too, if you are listening this, is that what we are living in is the long shadow of Atlantean thought, its inheritance, and we can see, everywhere we look, where that path leads. The Atlantean path is visibly failing. The Earth herself is telling us so. Australia is whispering. It just so happened, or perhaps nothing about it was accidental, that the Lemurian coal grew so strong It moved me from the Balkans to Australia. I traveled this ancient land extensively, and what I found was not merely beautiful landscape. The land took me by the hand. It led me to its most sacred places and unveiled gently just a little of its secrets. I have come to believe with everything in me that Australia, and especially her southwest and far north, is becoming a gathering place for new souls. The ancient land is whispering. Her creatures are carrying messages, and those of us who can hear are being called home. She is offering portals, gateways at her most sacred places, where the old story is not forgotten, but rather gently humming within rocks, within soil, where the trees remember what humans have been taught to forget. Every year, great whales travel from Antarctica, whose pristine frozen waters carry ancient information, all the way up the southwest coast to the Kimberley and back again. In doing so, they connect sacred point after sacred point along Australia's western edge. Gateways, nodes of memory. The whales sing as they travel, sending their songs far into the land. Whale song travels hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles through deep water. They are the living songlines of the ocean, stitching the sacred points of an ancient continent back into one continuous thread of remembering. The dolphins, brilliant, luminous beings, many are becoming aware today of their extraordinary capacities, that they are not merely physical creatures, but something far more. They carry frequencies that awaken memory in those ready to receive it. Where dolphins gather, something ancient is alive and paying attention. The stingrays of Hamelin Bay. There's a bay in the southwest of Australia, Hamelin Bay, with sand so white it seems to radiate its own light, and waters of the purest turquoise. Here, stingrays come, gentle, soft, trusting creatures who allow people to touch them, moving through the shallows with extraordinary grace. Their long tails act perhaps not only as protection, but as antenna, collecting signals, receiving information, carrying energy between realms. The Lemurian songlines, with all respect and genuine humility, borrowing a sacred concept from the original people of this land who have held and protected it across thousands of years. We will call these pads songlines, because that is what they are. The Aboriginal people maintain their ancient ways of living not from limitation, but as a deliberate act of preservation to protect the memory of symbiotic living, what it means to talk to trees, what it means to listen to water, what it means to understand this reality and be in loving, communicating, co-creating relationship with it. We honor that sacrifice and that wisdom in every step we take on this land. Hamelin Bay, Lemurian Gate 1. I call it Gate 1 not because it is more powerful than others, but simply because it is where I am, and I can work with it daily. White sands, pristine white rocks, pure turquoise ocean. And nearby, as you drive inland through beautiful canopies of gum trees, Mari, Karri, Solomon gums, their branches forming living arches over the road, there is Boranup Forest, whispering its ancient secrets in that majestic, patient way that only very old trees know how. Into the forest. The southwest corner of this continent is one of the world's great biodiversity hotspots, a living library of ancient plant species found nowhere else on Earth. The great Karri trees rise like cathedral columns. The undergrowth hums with a complexity that speaks of deep, deep time. This land remembers. The remembering has begun. We're at a threshold, a timeline shift, a slow but unmistakable turning of a great cycle. And one of the most recognizable signs of that shift is this: people are remembering, not intellectually adopting new ideas, but truly remembering, feeling ancient knowing rise from within them as something always known but long suppressed. The veil between what was and what is has grown thin. The stories humming in the rocks and the soil and the deep ocean floor are growing louder. The whales are singing with particular urgency. The trees, the beautiful, patient, ancient trees of Western Australia, are waiting. They remember happy children running freely, families with faces turned toward one another and the living land around them, communities exchanging, sharing, growing food, people returning to nature for support, for love, for the kind of belonging that no amount of technology can manufacture. If you are listening these words and feel something stir, a recognition, a resonance, an ache you cannot quite name, then you know what this is. You're not discovering something new. You are remembering something ancient. When you remember, you know yourself. This is the first in an ongoing series. We will walk the Lemurian songlines together. We will explore the philosophy, the principles, the practical remembering of what it means to live symbiotically, with the earth, with each other, with the cosmos that holds us all. The Atlantean age is ending. Something older and wiser and far more beautiful is being asked to rise. All the trees will applaud. Written from the southwest coast of Australia, where the stingrays come to the shore and the Karri trees lean in to listen.